Hello and welcome. My name is Nicholas and this is Literally Graphic. And today I'm taking on a slightly belated look at the 10-year challenge tag from Mincy Reads. Link to the original video in the comments. First up, was your favorite book in 2009? Reviewing my Library Things account, I had a handful of titles I awarded 5 stars, but if my memory is anything to go off of, I suspect Fight Club was probably my favorite book/movie of that particular year. Certainly not a pick that has aged terribly well, but it filled an important need I had at the time, so I'm not too terribly embarrassed, I guess. Next up, what is your favorite book of 2019? Perhaps even harder than question number 1, because I haven't been thinking about this book on and off for the past 10 years, but here's an attempt. I apparently only rated 4 books 5 stars, and I think the nonfiction audiobook Hitler's American Model, The United States and the Making of Nazi Race Law, and the 2 nonfiction graphic memoirs Genderqueer and Gender Slices have already had a lasting impact on my life. Would highly recommend. Next up. What was your least favorite book in 2009? Having already looked back at my favorite books of 2009, this was a super easy question because I wrote almost 900 words on how much I disliked Poison Study by Marie V. Snyder. On a more positive side, writing this review really fomented for me what the concept of the Mary Sue was and what I didn't like about it. Even if the fact that we focus more on bad female characters rather than male is also inherently misogynistic. Next up. What was your least favorite book in 2019? Of the 4 books that I rated 1 out of 5 stars this past year, I think that Under the Moon, a Catwoman tale, does take the cake, although the Batgirl of Burnside run was also pretty bad. Next up, what is a book published in 2009 that you still want to read? While I do have more than a few books published in 2009 on my to-be-read list, many I should probably take off my TBR list. The one that seems the most interesting is Peaceful Kingdom Lost, The Paxton Boys and the Destruction of William Penn's Holy Experiment. And skipping the next question because it's already 2020, what is a genre you used to read a lot of that you don't read as much of anymore? Probably science fiction and/or fantasy. I read a bit more of it this past year, but only because the nature of the booktubers I follow suddenly made me realize that I had almost stopped reading fantasy and science fiction completely since college. Next up, what is a new genre you've discovered since 2009? Besides everything not science fiction and fantasy, which you could perhaps argue, my dalliance with the quote-unquote classics was also part of this past decade. The thing that I still read that I probably didn't read before 2009 is, most specifically, slice of life manga. Next up, what is a reading or book habit you are hoping to leave behind in this decade? I don't really know. I guess reading mostly white English-speaking people is a work in progress. And finally, what is a new reading goal or habit you want to create in the upcoming decade? Reading fewer things at the same time, requesting less from the library all at once. And that's all she wrote. Bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, Indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.